Man, this is Deion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on OwlScoop.com. You already know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Scoop, the weekly podcast of OwlScoop.com. I'm your host, John DeCarlo, the editor of OwlScoop.com. And with me this week is our esteemed assistant editor, associate editor, managing editor.
Yeah, when do I get a new title?
What do you want your title to be?
I'm just saying I've been assistant editor of OwlScoop.com for 14 years. During this time, I've received one marginal pay raise, and I've never received a new title. I'm just throwing that out there.
We don't do yearly performance reviews either. You've been doing a great job, but our virtual offices are right next door to each other.
Consider this my public decree that I want a new title and more money.
That's Kyle Gauss, everybody.
We don't have a full house tonight. We're empty nesters today.
It's just the parents this week.
We just dropped our kids off at East Stroudsburg, and it's just us coming back, realizing after 14 years of marriage, we ran out of things to talk about.
Ryan and Colin have transferred to East Stroudsburg and didn't know it. Beautiful drive up 476 though. So didn't know they were transferring from Temple. So no, yeah, it's just Kyle and I this week on The Scoop. So we've got some stuff to talk about, of course. Temple took its first loss, a 42-3 rout to Oklahoma Saturday at the Link. Things, of course, don't get any easier this weekend with the Owls traveling to face a now-ranked Georgia Tech team that's coming off its upset of Clemson. They'll be facing another one of the country's better dual-threat quarterbacks in Haynes King this weekend. We'll tell you whether we think the Owls learned enough from the Oklahoma loss to apply it in Atlanta and maybe pull off an upset at Georgia Tech. And we'll get to your mailbag questions as well. The Scoop, as always, is brought to you by Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured while on the road or the highway and the crash was someone else's fault, the insurance company is not going to be on your side. You need us, Temple Law grads, who will fight hard to get the compensation that you deserve. We only get paid if we win, so in Pennsylvania or New York, call us today at 215-261-7359. Again, that's 215-261-7359. And you can find them on the web at greenspans-law.com. That's greenspans-law.com. I want to thank Mike Greenspan for giving up his 2 tickets to last weekend's game and allowing us to do a ticket giveaway. 2 Temple fans were able to view the game 15 rows from the field, right at midfield. So thank you, Mike, for donating the tickets for that contest. Want to remind you all again that now is the perfect time to join Owl Scoop and get access to all the information on recruiting, football, basketball is coming around the corner. So join Owl Scoop now for $1 for your first week, and then you can enjoy a complimentary year of The Athletic included with your membership. Again, it's a great deal to take advantage of. So our weekly reminder there to subscribe. You'll get access to, again, like the recruiting roundup coverage, any recruiting coverage that we do as the season moves forward here. So Kyle, how was your weekend? How's the soccer team doing?
Oh, gosh. We're 0-2. We also took an L this weekend. However, it was 5-1 instead of 13-6. So
that's progress.
I realized on practice on Thursday when I was drilling my own son, I said, if I'm here and you're there and I say get back on defense, what does that mean? He said run out of bounds. So I realized there was a miscommunication on what I was shouting at them. So once I established to them, this is what Coach Kyle means when he says get back on defense, we did a little bit better. We're leaving too many balls in front of the net. We're going to work on it. We're getting there.
I like it. That sounds like progress.
Yeah. I will also say that it is apparent to both parents and onlookers that maybe Coach Kyle gets frustrated with the kids.
Oh,
However,
no.
We're working through that as well.
Wait, has another parent approached you? Do you want to talk about this? Or
yeah, not in like an aggressive way, but in like a, hey, I noticed you're interacting with my kid this way. This is why he acts that way. Keep that in mind. And I said, do you want me to change the way I'm like coaching them? And said, no, keep doing what you're doing. Just know that like I too feel your frustrations. And I'm like, okay, rock and roll. But yeah, got another big game this weekend.
Against who?
That is a great question. Some Caribbean or South American team, because that is what all the teams are named. We are going against team. I clicked the wrong link. Oh no, this is bad radio. Bad radio. We're going against team. I'm gonna say. Well, first of all, we went against Team Curacao on Saturday, and I know this because a kid came up to me and screamed, "Curacao, Curacao!" I said, "Okay." As I'm actually kind of impressed you pronounced Curacao right. We're actually going against Team Canada. I don't know why Canada is in this group, but we're going up against Team Canada.
Is there a team Italy? Is there a team
In
Germany?
my group, in my bracket, there is Curacao, Guadalupe, Honduras, Haiti, Canada, and Costa Rica. Guadalupe is the team that beat us 13-6. So now we are working our way through. When Guadalupe is back on the schedule, unfortunately, November 8th is our rematch with Guadalupe. So, yeah, I'm not looking forward to that one.
All right. So if you guys win next week and Jordan scores a goal, is he a podcast guest?
Sure, but he did not score a goal this last week. He was not the one goal on our team. Cried at one point during the game, and I didn't notice, and the coach of the opposing team had to stop and console him.
Oh, buddy.
Because I was back on defense talking to another kid being like, I need you to do this. Like, you need to pay attention to me when I'm telling you to do this. And my own son is further up the field just crying. It's a physical game. I know people think it's not because it's just feet, but it's even more physical when every kid swarms to the ball and they're all just kicking, including if their own teammate has it. So he got kicked. He was fine. Jordan cries a lot, but then bounces back pretty quickly. So this was another one of those situations.
Final question for you before we get to the Oklahoma game and the task at hand. If Meg listened to the scoop, would she object to you talking about Jordan? Because I know she doesn't listen to the pod. I know our own wives don't really listen to the scoop, but
would she object to me
talking about
my
Jordan?
son?
Yeah.
In general?
Yeah.
No.
Or no, more about like he was crying during the game.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Meg's an oversharer. So I like to keep most things in house, except I think I owe it to our audience to have them come along. I know everyone's invested in my welcome to Wrexham moment where I'm trying to build this team up to eventually get to the Premier League. Early days. You guys are all day one supporters.
In a few weeks, you're going to be selling scarves and gear and
make more money off that than I do off Bell Scoop.
Could be a better moneymaker. They could start speaking in British accents, a bunch of kids with just adorable kids with British accents.
You know how like Tyrese Maxey handled his contract negotiations like entirely professionally, like in-house, like never spoke to the media about it? I'm doing the opposite.
Exactly. 42-3 was the final score at Lincoln Financial Field this past Saturday. We're not going to get too into the weeds on this game, although we knew we would learn something from it. But John Mateer goes 20 of 34 passing for 284 yards, a touchdown, 282 yards, a touchdown. Temple did force him into an interception on that Ty Davis interception, but Oklahoma obviously took it to Temple to improve to 3-0. John Mateer played, midway through the third quarter. Oklahoma really didn't have to utilize their backs for the first couple weeks of the season, but Torrey Blaylock, high-profile freshman, 14 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Satania, 7 catches, 97 yards. Temple just could not get things going, especially on third down. The game was really just dominated at the line of scrimmage. So, we're going to play a clip in a little bit here of Casey Keeler talking about how that's one of the best defensive fronts he thinks in college football, and they're just a different animal, he said a few times, than what they're going to see for the rest of the season. So, Kyle, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and I think you mentioned it on last week's podcast, was you wanted to see Temple. None of us were predicting a win. This isn't exactly shocking, but I think one of the things you said last week was you wanted to at least see them score on a couple of drives, and if they didn't, then you're going to not go back to questioning the effectiveness of the offense, but beyond the obvious, what do you make of how thoroughly they were dominated by this Oklahoma defense? Is it just chalking it up to like, that's a really, really good team? Or do you really go back and say, all right, maybe they really just did beat up on 2 really bad teams in UMass and Howard?
I'm not like fully in the like, oh, the first 2 weeks were just bad opponents. I do think there are like interesting wrinkles to this offense you haven't seen in Temple in a while. But like it definitely is like it comes back to earth. I think there's a little bit of once they fell down 35-3 in the third quarter, and Keeler talked about this. Like offense coordinator Tyler Walker definitely like made a conscious effort of like, we're not just gonna try to throw the ball 3 times and catch up. Like we really need to just like shorten this game and kind of get out of here and get healthy. Like I know no fan wants to hear that, especially in a game where you're on like national television and it's the biggest crowd of the year and all this stuff. Like I think it's more realistic though. Just be like, hey, we're not going to come back and win this game. Let's at least run it once or twice, get that clock moving, go from there. So like, I don't think that's not to say they would have scored 17 points if they just decided to air it out, right? Like Kevin Simon, whether it's via missed blocks, which we're going to talk about or have talked about, whether it's via misreads, whether it's him just like not having the internal clock, was getting hammered at times during that game. There's a couple plays that really stand out to me where he took hits that I'm honestly surprised he held onto the ball.
Yeah.
So like I think it's hard to gauge the offense against that, because I think going into it, maybe I kind of undersold that defense a little bit just because they haven't made any explosive plays, and they still haven't. Like they still haven't forced a turnover 3 games in, but they are just so fundamentally sound and so athletically gifted that like it doesn't matter. Like that's a huge step up from Temple. I don't think it's as much of a step up to Georgia Tech this week. But yeah, I'm not going to fully write off this offense because of that game. But obviously, you would have felt better if there was like one drive that they just 11 plays, 80 yards, and scored a touchdown. But unfortunately, that never really came. I think their longest offensive drive was 35 yards, maybe. So not ideal.
You'll hear Casey Keeler talk about it. One of the things I wanted to ask him about yesterday was, after those Monday press conferences are always useful because, you get time with the coaches and players, obviously, after the game. And then the Monday pressers are helpful because by then they have digested the film. They've started to look at the upcoming opponent. But one of the plays that stood out to me, and I talked about it on our message board, you'll hear Casey talk about in a little bit, a lot of reasons why they lost this game that didn't boil down to one play. But they had that 3rd and 1. They were at Oklahoma's 48, and you could see Reggie Powers III creeping up at the line behind R. Mason Thomas, who, R. Mason Thomas keeps going. He's probably maybe a day 2 draft pick. We'll see. Yeah. Really good player, and nobody picked him up. And so Jacoby Hills occupies R. Mason Thomas, and then Powers just comes around him. And, Evan took more brutal hits on Saturday. I mean, Powers just right there and just brought him down. Thankfully, Evan didn't get really drilled there, but that was a drive wrecker right there. And they're down 11-0 at that point. Casey Keeler, again, you'll hear him in the audio that we play in a little bit and say, if we had gotten it to a point where we're trailing 24-10 instead of like 35-3, and then they start to clamp up, that's how you win a game like that, or that's how you make it close. And, they just, things like that are potentially fixable. Is that Grayson Maines' responsibility to call out the blitzer there? Is that Jacoby Hills? Is it Evans? So there were things that obviously you can look back at and say, okay, they really need to clean this up. Again, huge difference in talent and resources. Casey Keeler talked a lot yesterday about how, hey, I talked a lot to our leadership council about this is how we prepare. This is how we do this. This is how we do that. So a 42-3 domination. Again, nothing much going on the ground, just 24 yards on 7 carries for Jay Ducker. Trezworthy, 10 yards on 7 carries. Kajaya Holloway got going on that one drive, 2 catches for 21 yards, but otherwise they just really couldn't get much going. They tried that one trick play where Giovanni McCoy comes in, rolls out, nothing's there to his right, has to throw it out of bounds. So we'll have to see if Temple can look at the film and say, okay, is there anything that we can take from this game in terms of the preparation, the focus, the whole, hey, we just got jolted. How do we bounce back from that? Can they apply that to this Saturday at Georgia Tech? A few notes to pass along from yesterday's practice. So Javier Morton, the most notable thing, one of their starting safeties, was in a boot due to a sprained ankle. Casey Keeler said it's a lower ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain. So he's going to be evaluated later this week, and said, it'd be a shame not to have him at Georgia Tech.
And obviously the reason it'd be a shame, other than him being a starting safety, is he's from right outside Atlanta. He's from Stone Mountain. So would miss a bit of a homecoming. Yeah.
Jay Ducker was in a gray jersey yesterday, meaning he's limited, but hurt his shoulder in the Oklahoma loss. But Casey Keeler implied that he expects him to play Saturday. He also said that Kevin Terry, who has been suiting up, he's been suiting up since the opener. And if you recall, Kevin Terry got hurt back on August 9th, MCL injury, and that paved the way for Jacoby Hills to come in and start left tackle, where he has the last 3 games. Casey Keeler said, do I think Kevin Terry is 100% yet? I don't, but it's been suiting up. He hinted into just trying to get him into the rotation a little bit more. in the future. But we're going to play a clip here from yesterday's Weekly Monday press conference, and you'll hear me asking a question. You'll hear Austin Boynes from the Temple News asking him about how he prepares getting this team mentally down to Georgia Tech. And the first question you'll hear me ask here is, what he thinks is fixable from Oklahoma. How much of what happened Saturday is fixable? How much of it is just you tipping your cap to them and saying, hey, you guys played a great game? And then I did ask him about that play, that sack that we just talked about where they didn't pick up Powers there. And so here's a clip from yesterday's weekly press conference, and then we'll get a little bit more into moving this forward and looking at number 18, Georgia Tech.
How much of Saturday, when you do look back at the film, was fixable, and how much of it is just like you just tip your cap to them and say, hey, they just made a great play there?
Yeah, so I think if you look at our defense versus their offense, I think there's some opportunities that we felt like we didn't capitalize on. I think some of their explosive plays were us not being in position than anything else. And that's something we have to get fixed. We have to play cleaner on defense because I thought our defensive line held up really well versus their O-line. Their quarterback scrambled around. That's the reason why he was the number one free agent in the country. And he did a really good job extending plays. Offensively, I just think, we were going up against just a different animal. I was fortunate or unfortunate to play LSU one season when LSU was really, really good. They were just coming off the national championship, I believe. And, that's what that defense reminded me of. That defense was just kind of a different level. And, boy, they get you in third down. Boy, they can heat you up like no one's business. So it was a combination of both. I realize how good they are now, seeing them in person, and playing against them. But, again, some self-inflicted wounds early on really hurt us. And I think we could have kept that to more of a 24-10 game, and then if it's that, and then you make a play, and all of a sudden they start, tightening up a little bit because this was not what they expected, that's how you win those games. We just never got ourselves in that situation, which was disappointing.
How are you guys mentally getting the team prepared to go down and play them with the amount of momentum that they have?
Yeah, so I think, the way we look at it is, okay, the ultimate goal is for us to be conference champs. So every game that we play is in an effort to just keep on getting better. And do we want to win those games? Absolutely. We didn't come here to lose games. We came to win games. At the same time, there's a growth that needs to take place. We need to get that growth process sped up because we have conference play coming up. And I was disappointed we didn't do some things in the Oklahoma game that I thought we could have done. We got to get those things cleaned. We got to get our special teams cleaned up. We got to play cleaner on defense in terms of alignment and assignment. Offensively, we got to get, some of those explosive plays back. I thought Tyler did a really good job, smartly taking some time off the clock, trying to keep our defense off the field at times. Try to manage a game. But, we're very conscious that we're playing another top 20 team. And it's a chance to take a deep breath and just kind of go attack it new. Kind of have to flush what happened at Oklahoma. You evaluate what happened and you see how can we get better. But that game, we got to let that one go, and now we got to go, face Georgia Tech. So.
Evan was talking about that. He said, obviously, I go back and watch the tape. When you guys hit that 3rd and 1 at their 48, and Powers got that sack, he had lined up behind R. Mason Thomas, and he comes around him, and no one was there. For a play like that, is that Grayson's job to call that out? Is it Evans? Who's reflecting on this play?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that particular play, but I know it's one you're talking about and those are the kind of plays that we had to make. They timed us up a little bit, and so sometimes that one hit pretty quick. So I don't know if Grace had a chance to even see that coming. But those are the kind of plays where we had to get some of those, and then, hey, give me 4th and half a yard and let me figure that out. But we never even got to some of those situations. And those are the kind of plays we had to make, pretty early. And their defensive line is just kind of a different animal, than anyone, they're as good as anyone in the country, that front. So, it was hard because we didn't want to throw it 80 times. And so sometimes we felt we were banging our head against the wall, but it was, sort of managing the whole game that way too.
Kyle, I dropped this into the notes here specifically for you. So Georgia Tech's 3-0. They were named, I didn't even know this existed. Maybe this is a well-known thing. I didn't know this. Georgia Tech was named the Pop-Tarts Crazy Good Team of the Week by the Football Writers Association of America. Did you know this was a thing? I didn't know this was a thing.
No, I did not. That has to be just like the FWIA rights voted for this?
Yeah. Yes.
That has to be something that like they just bought the naming rights to. We'll say I can't tell you the last time I had a Pop Tart. I used to eat them as of like 2 or 3 years ago every night. I would have a Pop Tart every night. But no, I have stopped doing that because blood sugar didn't come back great that year at the doctor's. So and he was like, you seem like you're in decent enough shape. What do you think is leading to this? I'm like, I don't know, doctor. It could be anything. In reality, it's definitely the, am I going to have the s'mores Pop-Tarts? Am I going to have the raspberry
they're one of like
Pop-Tarts?
the top 10 like worst. They're hard. I mean, not that anybody.
Terrible. 390 calories. The sugar is insane. Like it's
bad.
Yeah, not great for you.
But they don't slow down those Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket stuff.
No.
Yeah.
They're one of our like greatest products, like as like a country.
Nonetheless, Georgia Tech's first 3-0 start since 2016. This was their first win over Clemson in 10 tries. So again, they're coming off that upset win over Clemson. They've now won 7 in a row at home. So we talked about Haynes King before. He's back. He missed week 2. They did not need him at all against Gardner-Webb. He went 20 of 28 passing last week for 211 yards. And then on the ground was where he was more dominant, 103 yards and a touchdown on 25 carries. So he runs the ball really well and a lot, in case you haven't watched Georgia Tech. He engineered that late scoring drive that set up the game-winning field goal. That was a 55-yarder by Aiden Burr. So we know that should this game be close, if Temple has it tied in the fourth quarter and Georgia Tech has the ball late, like Aiden Burr has the capability, of going beyond 50 yards to kick a field goal. So they've outscored their opponents by 44-10 in the third quarter. So that's why they tend to hit the gas. So again, obviously some of that comes from their week 2 route. Beyond Haynes King, they do have a pair of good running backs in Jamal Haynes and Malachi Hosley. Those guys have combined for 5 rushing touchdowns, close to 350 yards in the first 3 weeks. Blake Gideon's their new defensive coordinator after Tyler Santucci left to become the Ravens linebackers coach. So they've given up 20 points to Colorado in the opener and then 21 to Clemson. So they've been pretty solid against the 2 best opponents they faced. 2 really good linebackers and Kyle Efford and EJ Lightsey. Lightsey's their leading tackler. Efford has 14 tackles. Akilo Stone, an Ole Miss transfer, has been good for them. 2 sacks, 3 TFLs. Clayton Powell leaves their best player in the secondary at safety. So they've been pretty solid at all 3 levels so far. If you're Temple and Temple's offensive line, you could take some comfort in the fact that all 6 of Georgia Tech's sacks and big plays on defense, at least statistically, came against Gardner-Webb. They didn't have any TFLs or sacks against Colorado or Clemson. So that leads us into this, Kyle. So another tough test. What do you make of Georgia Tech? Beat Clemson. They beat Colorado on the road in the opener, but a lot of the bigger plays on defense came against a much inferior opponent, not to take anything away from them. But what are the keys to this game? What are they looking at if they want to pull off an upset?
I mean, first and foremost, I think, Clemson's played a tough schedule, but they're not Clemson of years past. Like they're not to that level. Like, so especially kind of offensively. Same with Colorado. This isn't last year with Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. They're 1-2 as well. I looked a little bit at the Gardner-Webb game. I think that's actually that game. If you're a Temple fan, you look at it and you go, Gardner-Webb had 2 touchdown drives and they had 300 and some yards. Both those touchdowns came in like the end of the third, early fourth when Georgia Tech was up like soundly. And so they're going up against some of the backups. I don't think it's as good of a defense as Oklahoma. I think you can make the argument that Oklahoma is like a top 5-10 defense in the nation this year. I don't think Georgia Tech's at that level. I do think you can move against. I think Evan Simon should have more time to operate the offense in this. I also don't see offensively Georgia Tech kind of like jumping out to that like 35-3 lead that kind of just like hamstrings the offense. I think this is a game that like could Temple lose this by 15-20 points? Absolutely. But I think it's going to be like closer and Temple is going to be able to actually hopefully move the ball a little bit against Georgia Tech. I think the defensive line's okay. You'll see if you're a true degenerate Temple diehard, you'll see a familiar name, Jason Moore, who of course transferred from Georgia Tech to Temple for 1 semester and then transferred back. He was a walk-on initially, then took out a scholarship at Temple, and then Georgia Tech said, hey, we actually have a scholarship for you. So he came back to that. He plays, like he rotates through for them. So you'll see him a bit. But yeah, nobody on the defensive line so far like screams this is as much of an issue as Temple ran into with Oklahoma. I think we talked about this. I mean, Akil Stone's a big boy. He's 6'2", 300. So I think you'll see him. He's like a seventh-year guy, too. He's another bounce back. He was Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, back to Georgia Tech. They have some older guys in that line. They just haven't really had that productivity yet. So that'll obviously be the storyline to watch. You saw this against Oklahoma when you talked about this in the preview. Peter Clark definitely stayed in and tried to help out Jacoby Hills at times, which I think kind of eliminated him from the passing game. In an ideal world, they can block with 5 guys, and that frees up their tight ends to actually go catch the ball, which is the focal point of this offense.
Yeah, I think that would be a big key for them this week. I mean, really anything has to be, or you would hope for Temple's sake, would be better this weekend than last weekend, where Evan just did not have much time to throw. You could say he's got to get rid of the ball. Yes, he does. But I mean, some of those blitzes, some of those pressures were just
untouched. Yeah.
We're not in the film room. We say this to be fair. And there was one play where I don't know what Eric King was looking at on one play. Very, very good defensive front. But there were certain blitzes that didn't get picked up, certain things where that power sack could have been really, really bad. It was bad in the sense that it wrecked that drive, but of all the hits that Evan took, that was one where I think he came in, he was like, all right, I'm just going to bring it down to the ground here. So yeah, I would like to think for their case that they might have more of a chance, as you said, to move the ball here. I'll be interested to see if they win the toss again, if they decide to take the ball and just try to go up 3-0. They've got to play better on special teams. I mean, Tyler Stewart stepping out at the 1 against Oklahoma. Brutal.
I was honestly surprised he came back after that. I was surprised they didn't move to Therese Worthy or JoJo Bermudez just to return kicks.
I was a little too. I mean, if you want to keep JoJo in for punts and you just want to protect him and say, hey, we really need him, he's one of our top 2 receivers. Yeah, why not give Therese a shot there? That was, I mean, they're lucky that they avoided a safety there. Not one of Dante Atten's better days punting.
This is not his doing, but it's the most punts ever by a Temple player in a game. So
yeah,
he set the program record
12,
for most,
right? 10 or 12?
12.
He's a great kid. He's a single digit. Was not, I don't know that we expected Dante Atten, regardless of whether he's rugby punting it or whatever. I mean, he was never going to be Ray Guy. He was never going to be this guy like a top 5 punter in the nation.
Right.
But I mean, the one off the side of his foot was really bad. Cliche as it sounds, everything has to go right for them in a game like Oklahoma. Everything has to go right for them in a game like this. And if you have a chance to flip the field, and if you're still feeling good about your front 7, your front 8, you can't have 19-yard punts, obviously. So they have to play better on special teams. We'll get into predictions here. The Bet MGM line has Temple as of now as 23.5-point underdogs.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a Temple win up your sleeve here, right? So we just say, do we think Georgia Tech? We've now become a betting podcast. Does Georgia Tech cover here? Does Temple? What are you thinking here? Is Temple losing this game by 24 points, or do you think they bounce back and make this more competitive this week?
I just have a hard time envisioning, and this sounds bad. We haven't really even talked about Haynes King that much, but I have a hard time envisioning a Haynes King who is obviously a good college player. This is his 3rd year as a starter at Georgia Tech. He played a little bit at A&M. He will take risks, and his arm is not the strongest arm you're going to see this year. They run him. That being said, I think we'll get into this a little bit. I think they utilize him more in designed runs than Oklahoma does with John Mateer. John Mateer was a lot of just he's going to buy time, and he'll get out of the pocket and he'll do this. You'll see them just run QB draws with Haynes King, where he's going to lower the shoulder and try to run over the linebacker. I think that's easier to prepare for.
Yeah.
So I can't see Georgia Tech putting up 42, up 3. Again, I think this is a game that ends up being Georgia Tech 31, Temple 13. Actually, no, I'll give them 2 touchdowns. So 17, 31-17, a cover, but Georgia Tech wins. I think that would give you something to work on going into the bye week too, where you're okay, we did have success. When we executed, we were able to move the ball against the ACC defense. Now let's see if we can translate that to the American.
Yeah, I could see a 34-14 or 37-17 type of game. I can't remember if it was I don't think it was in the clip that we played earlier, but Casey Keeler talked yesterday about one of the main differences. He said, I don't think we're not going to see from what they've seen on film, they're not going to see as much tempo. Oklahoma was like just tempo, 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 running them over. Georgia Tech is going to look a little bit more, again, paraphrasing them here, like what we look like, where a lot of pre-snap motion, stuff like that. Maybe that has your defense feeling a little less gassed, although a strength of this defense is supposed to be the number of guys that they can cycle in. I think this offense, again, I'm not taking anything away from them. They've been good. They've done what they're supposed to do, but maybe Temple gets to catch its breath a little bit more because they're not facing as much tempo. But I agree with you. Maybe it's easy to pick up on more of the designed runs where it's just get the ball and go, whereas like 3 or 4 seconds of a play have developed in the Mateer. I agree with you. Both of these guys, again, Oklahoma's in the past. Fran Duffy last week talked about how a guy like John Mateer can put the ball in harm's way. I think Haynes King can do that too. You saw him do that in the past when he was at Texas A&M. Casey Keeler saw him a few years ago when he was at Sam Houston State. Obviously, the guys continue to get better, but I think if you're Temple, you kind of heard Casey Keeler talk about it in the clip that we played. Well, our ultimate goal is to be a conference champion. We want to progress against this team. I think if it's a 42-3 game again or a 45-3 game, then you say, look, they weren't expected to win either one of these games, but you got to at least muster a touchdown or two against this defense. I think that has to be what you want.
To that Haynes King point of what I was making earlier about, I think a lot of times it's design runs. According to Pro Football Focus, this year he's had, and you look at his head back to, he's 100 yards in both of the games that he started. He's only scrambled, according to Pro Football Focus, 3 times. Like other than that, it's 35 designed runs. Like they will run him intentionally. So I mean, he missed the Gardner-Webb game with a lower leg injury. He's had an ACL in the past. Clearly didn't affect him that much. They ran the ball 24 times with him against Clemson, but like that's where you're going to have to really shut him down. Is I'm less worried about his ability to get out of the pocket and look downfield like I was with John Mateer, and I'm more worried about just them running options and him lowering the shoulder and knocking somebody over for 7 yards.
Before we get into on or around this date, if you have not subscribed to Owl Scoop, we told you how you can. Each Tuesday, you can take advantage of Kyle's recruiting roundup coverage. Kyle, without giving away the whole story, give people a small piece of the pie in terms of maybe one player who Temple fans can be excited about in this class.
I think RJ Blunt has an opportunity to play right away. I think he's the best running back in South Jersey. I think he keeps showing that he's the best running back in South Jersey. And with Trezworthy and Jay Ducker and potentially Hunter Smith, I think the jury's still out whether Hunter Smith's going to get an extra year of eligibility. I know when he committed, he thought he was going to because medical redshirt, but I think they list him as a redshirt senior, so I'm not sure. But you have the potential of all 3 running backs being gone, and who knows what happens with Jaquez Smith, and then that just leaves you with Mason, and I think there's an opportunity there for an RJ Blunt to come in and play right away. And if you pay attention to the recruiting roundups, he's in there pretty frequently. I try to get at least 1 or 2 quotes from the kids every week, just so that way, like, it's not just me regurgitating box scores and that you're actually getting some quotes. So, yeah, subscribe.
We've got a surprise guest logging on in a second for On Around the State.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Is this who I think it is?
Who do you think it might be?
I don't want to say, because then if it's not him, it'll be disappointing. There it is. Let's go.
We do have a surprise guest.
Let's go.
Logging on for On or Around this date this week, the man who created the segment. Since we are not a video podcast, I will just tell our listeners that Declan Landis has joined us wearing his Owl Scoop hat. Everything lined up perfectly. When I texted Declan earlier, I said, I'd be honored to have you on the pod this week. Can you do it? Declan said, essentially the stars have aligned. I'm off today. Declan probably could have gone on to a career in sports media. He is now one of our top academic advisors at Klein College and has really been our main point person with the sports media major, the sports media certificate. You guys know him, you love him, and he's here now for On Around this date, buddy. It's good to see your face. Good to see
guys.
you.
I got goosebumps. I've got
what
chills.
happened though? This isn't Declan. This is evil Declan. He came back
I don't
with
know
the
what you're
goatee.
talking about.
He came back with the goatee. This is like when you have to distinguish, like it's not actually him, it's the evil version of him.
It's the evolved version. You know, I figured I've been doing this for a couple of years now, but it's a little more pristine now. You know what I mean? It's the lines are a little sharper.
I'll say this, Declan. I'm a little disappointed in the post Owl Scoop Declan relationship.
Look, hey, I've been around. You know what I'm
Not
saying?
in my life, you haven't.
Kyle, hey, I miss you too. You know, I was just talking about this the other day. I was like, man, I wish I could get back on the pod because, like, the energy's good. The young guys they're crushing it. I love listening, but it's just I miss
hold,
it.
hold
You know
on
what I
one
mean?
second. Hold on one second. At no point have you articulated to me, boy, I wish I could get back on the pod. You have not
And
said
that's
that to me.
and that's true. But I mean,
We had
you don't.
dinner. We had pizza. You and Johnny and I had pizza. At no point during our hangout,
Whoa,
in
whoa,
which,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa, whoa.
I
Time out.
at
That's
no
not
point
true at all.
at no point did I hear you say, I wish I could get back on the pod.
That's
At
not
no
true at all.
point prior to that did I hear, "Hey, Kyle, you should come and hang out with us."
But I always assume we
That
talk about
too.
this 99.5% of the time. I always assume your answer is going to be no.
Yeah, the text I got this morning was you're probably going to say no to this. That's crazy, okay? I had to leave because I had to work during the day. That's the only reason. That's the only thing stopping me from coming on every
I'm
week.
also
You know
saying
what I mean?
in our July or August hangouts, is Declan and Johnny and I are. Can you say we're neighbors? Not necessarily, but you guys
We're
are
10 minutes down the road.
10 minutes down
That's-
the road.
Yeah.
But we got together over the summer. I assumed that Kyle just wouldn't be able to hang out, wouldn't want to hang out. But I in fairness, didn't.
We
say,
got to
hey,
stop assuming.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what they say?
What do they say?
That makes an ass out of you and me.
There we
We
go.
do say that.
Yeah.
I have always been very forthcoming in saying if you're gonna ask me something the day before, the answer is almost always no.
Fair.
I have a very laid out schedule. If you give me plenty of notice, I'm usually a yes.
We'll make it happen.
We'll plan a Delco or a Monco.
I've seen Johnny more
hangout.
recently than I've seen either of you. I'm just throwing that out there.
That is
No.
true.
No,
but
no.
No,
I saw John, Matt.
Kyle and I got to spend some time together at Andy's party,
At Andy's
Andy Carl's
party.
I was
party.
gonna
But
say,
where was
I
it?
heard about
Not
that.
McGillicuddy's. Where were we? What's the place?
McGurk's.
McGurk's. Thank you. Yes.
Where is that?
Wrong Irish
There's a
establishment.
couple. It's like a regional chain, but the one we were at was
Okay.
in Fort Washington.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I've actually said at that dinner you referenced earlier that we should do a reunion pod where we get the generations together. And you just kind of glanced over it, but I was like, man, that was $1 million
I didn't
idea.
glance over it. That would be a great
That's
idea.
a good idea. I
you
wish
very
you
much.
got more support from higher up at Declan.
I appreciate
I wish
that.
that like Alice.
I should have gone to the
this.
spiritual leader first and not the,
I'm the face
not
of the
the editor.
program. Okay, so let's. Let's
we've
give
been
you
saying
something.
it.
Yeah.
We've been saying it.
I mean, we shouldn't get in the way of this. There was a lot of chemistry in the press box between the two of you at the Miami.
Sometimes. That's why I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
know.
feel like you turned into a pumpkin and off you went. And I've been looking. I have the shoe. I am Prince Charming. I'm looking for who does this shoe fit to, knowing it fits your foot. Can't find the foot.
I know. We both. I think it's a two-way street. We both have to be better. I'm going to be better moving forward. It's my fault because every time I see texts in the big group chat, I don't know if we're allowed to say that. You can cut this part if you want to, but every time I see a text, I'm too far into the chat to like throw a reply in because I'm horrible at checking my phone. So that's on me. I need to be more engaging with the whole crew. I've missed out on plenty of interactions with the whole crew.
How many L Scoop group chats are there? There's at least like 4.
There's several. Yeah.
Almost.
Because there's the
Also, how
modern
many-
guys.
Didn't I have to talk to you one point on campus and say, I have sent you at least 15 Instagram DMs?
You
You're
said
like,
that more
I
about
know.
Instagram
I'll check-
DMs. I'll never.
I'll
Oh,
check.
check
John, early morning Instagram DMs are the worst.
insufferable. Yeah, I know. Fair
It's just
enough.
like here, and I'm like, how are you following this account? Like it's just like a random post from the weirdest page in the world. He just thinks, let me send this to people.
I do love every time you've sent me this video like 4 or 5 times now, and
also
it's this
a
dude.
very John thing to do.
Yes, it's this guy that like is in front of this TV and there's a Catholic mass song playing and he's just vibing to it. And every time he sends that to me because he's like, "Oh, this reminded me of you," because it's one of my
Catholic.
few personality traits.
I'm
And
aware of
it
it.
makes me smile every time.
I know I've done it. It's like it's like blowing through a stop sign. I say, if I sent this to Declan, the answer is probably yes. I'm going to do it anyway.
I still like it,
stop signs?
No, I don't. I don't.
Just-
So that was you on State Road the other day. That was you.
No.
That's so
No,
funny.
look at you dropping Delco references now. State Road.
You know, you guys didn't warn me how horrible the roads are out here. I mean, I have
I don't know what you were
enjoyed.
expecting. I mean, like, were you expecting?
Well, that's
Christine
fair.
Did you not
driving
watch Mayor of
services?
Easttown?
I've not actually. I cannot
It's not
afford
really
HBO.
filmed
I
in
am
Delaware
working on
County.
it though.
The new one was filmed in Delco in Chester County. Task with Mark Ruffalo.
Oh,
It just came
What
out.
did I-
that looked good. Did you watch that?
It's 2 episodes in. It's good so far. Yeah.
What did I
Okay.
see recently that Inglesby made that is also good? Was Julianne Moore in it? And and Sydney Sweeney. What the heck is the movie called? I just watched it, and it was come on.
Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah,
I got nothing for you.
Are you sure I'm thinking of Sirens? Wasn't Julianne? No, that wasn't. Was that?
We're back to it. Just John looking up things in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah, hold on.
The vibes. I'm getting the goosebumps.
You're right back in it.
I know.
Echo Valley.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yes, very good.
But with this new one, I had a coworker text me when he was in downtown, being like, I was on downtown on Boot Road, and I look over, and it's the Hulk driving a car next to me, and I thought he meant like like CGI, like they had Mark Ruffalo in the outfit. He's like, no, I just meant Mark Ruffalo is doing. I was like, oh, my bad. I envisioned like big outfit, small car, Hulk driving.
That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome.
That's just Mark
That you
Ruffalo.
need a video of for sure. That can't just be a verbal thing.
You're going to be delivering on around the state. Do you want to stick around for the mailbag too? We got a couple questions, including one from one of your favorite people, Ray Dunn.
I would be honored. I'd be
Okay.
honored. I'm not going to lie. My Temple knowledge is lacking recently. I did watch that game this past weekend in a parking lot of the University of Delaware UConn game, and it was not pretty. It was not pretty, but they look good this year.
UConn game?
Well, Phil, people
Yeah,
you're still in the sports media game a little bit here.
Very little, very little. But no, my cousin's fiance is the quarterback at UConn,
Ah.
so we went to
Wait.
watch him play.
Who's their quarterback this year?
Joe Fignano. He played in the game last year too.
Okay,
That
so
we
they
watched.
don't have
It's
Why
not
am I-
Dan Orlovsky.
It's not.
It is not Dan Orlovsky.
No, who the heck did they have? They had a quarterback that they took over EJ Warner.
Yeah, and he was like injury prone last year.
Yeah, what the
because
heck
he
was
got
his-
the starting
Zion
job.
Turner? Was it Zion Turner? Maybe. Yeah, he. I
Oh,
don't know.
that's a different
Wait,
name than I'm thinking of.
That's from like he was like a 2-year starter. Then it was Nick Evers, right?
Nick Evers is who I'm
Yeah,
thinking of.
That was the
I
Oklahoma.
think he got the starting job last year, and then Joe stepped up when he was hurt and had a good year. And now he won the starting job, so he
My,
looked good. Their defense did not.
My nephew played at your alma mater 2 weeks ago.
Really?
They did like
Is he really that old now?
He's a sophomore.
Oh my God.
They played St. John's College at like whatever the football invitational is down there.
Yeah,
I think it was week
Abyssinia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
down
What'd you
there.
think? Did you go?
I did not go. No, I'm going next weekend though, I believe. But that's at home.
Nice.
It's a
That's
day.
awesome. That's so weird. I mean, to see him grow
Yeah,
up
he's
is
starting at right
strange.
end now. They moved him back to defensive end because they figured that was more important. He had a strip sack last week.
Nice.
Springford. So
Nice. Oh, spring
Okay.
forward. My roommate is not going to be happy to hear that.
they lost 30-0.
Oh,
They lost 30-0. I don't know if you ever pay attention to the high school football game on like Max Preps. They'll do like somebody scoring the game. It'll be like somebody in the audience. Whoever was there that day was just like, this is boring. Let me do what they want. At one point, I looked, it said like 88-11 on Max Preps. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what happened here? And I actually was like, no, it was 30-0. Some guy was like, I'm just gonna troll.
West
three
lost
people.
30. West lost 30 to nothing.
No, they
Springfield?
beat them. They beat them.
Oh, they beat them. Okay, I was gonna
Yeah.
say I didn't. What a,
oh, I thought that was going the other way. That's
No,
why
they
I was
beat
like, oh
them
my
there.
God,
okay.
that's tough.
All right, Declan.
Yeah.
What do you have for us?
Thank you so much for joining us on or around the state. And look, I mean, there have been a couple broken traditions, in my time since I've passed. I've noticed that recently. Number one, people have been using the around part instead of the on part, and that's no problem.
A lot.
That's no
A
problem.
lot. And
A
it's never
lot.
on. It's never
It's
on.
become a crutch. And you know what? We're taking it back to specifically on this date for today. Now, granted, does that mean we only have 4 events? Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter. It's all about the banter. You know what I'm saying? And number 2, it feels like there's been a lot of prep work for on or around the state. And while I do appreciate that, I have pulled up my handy dandy Britannica website, and we're shooting from the hip today. Because that's what the scoop's all about.
I do
You know what I'm
appreciate the
saying?
essence of this segment is very much like you are also learning these things about 30 seconds before we are. But then when he who shall not be named, I'm going to name him, Johnny, took over the segment, he would like read Britannica as well, but then like screw up the facts. Like
Right.
he'd get the date wrong, or he would get the country wrong. He'd stutter on something. Like he'd prevent something. I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping
Thank
you
you.
get rusty.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. We'll see. I mean, only time will tell, so we'll get right into it. On this day, oh my God, I almost forgot. Kyle, would you like to start with birthdays or events
I
today,
just
sir?
lit up. It's just beamed.
Let's do events.
Okay, all right, switch it up. I like it. And I know you don't love the past, the past events. So I thought I'd keep it fairly recent, just to, for the spirit of
sure.
it.
Yeah.
If
Wait,
that's
real
cool.
quick, Kyle, is this what happens when, so it's just at the outset of the pod, Declan, we said Colin and Ryan couldn't join us this week. It's just Kyle and John here, the empty nesters. This is what gets weird when the kids are away at college. Someone else comes back to visit.
I said after 14 years of marriage, we've realized we ran out of things to talk to. It's like it's the first weekend back without the kids, and you're like, do you want to go to On the Border? I don't want to go to On the Border. Let's do this. Like, okay.
But it's the choice to stay together that
Of
makes
all
your
the
love
things
so
you could,
strong.
of
You
all
know what
the
I'm
things you
saying?
could
Like
say
that.
on the border.
Like the spark is gone. Like
Right.
you're essentially roommates, but like
Right.
you
But the
like
love is
care
still
for each
there.
other. Like the love's still there, but like it's
Exactly.
different,
You
yeah.
wake up and you choose to be together that day. And that's, that's the beautiful thing about our beloved Scoop family, Anyway.
We've stayed together for multiple generations.
Sure.
So many generations of
I think
sports
there's been like
reporters in
four
and out.
distinct generations of interns, I would say, or maybe
It
even
does
five.
kind of feel like
and
that.
we're staying
You've
through.
been through it
There's
all.
a picture of us on the mantle, and the oil painting of our family just gets bigger and bigger. We had to bring somebody in every couple of years to just add on.
Commission different artists to do it.
Yeah, the one guy moved out of town, so like the style is just completely different as it gets further down.
The trip to Michael's hits
Abstract.
different every time when you got to get
To
just a
Michael's.
little more canvas, just a little more to tack on, just to make it just a little bigger.
Or like, have you ever been walking down like South Street and it'll have like the caricatures of like Republicans or Democrats playing poker? Like that's like all these different. it's, it's John with a cigar. There's a dog with cards out. It's like
It's Riggs.
It's
Riggs
Riggs.
has the cards. He's sitting at the front desk of the Owl Scoop Hall of Fame.
He used to have a cigar. Now he's got a cig.
Briggs just ripping darts.
He's trying to quit. He's trying to quit. God bless him.
We see it starts vaping halfway through. It to be Zen.
He's working his way back. He's going to get there one day, and there's no quitting that dog. There really isn't.
Oh boy.
Anyway, like I said, fairly modern start to honor around this date. On this date in 1620,
There we go.
this landmark vessel set off on its departure for America.
Mayflower?
The Mayflower, heading to Plymouth, Massachusetts. You might have heard of it.
You ever seen the Plymouth Rock?
I have. It's kind of underwhelming.
It's very underwhelming. It just sucks. It's just a rock.
You're just
like-
looking off a ledge.
Yeah. You're like, okay.
What were you
Yeah,
guys?
cool.
What were you?
They should just lie. And first of all, it's not even the rock. Like they don't like. There's no. It's just a rock. Like that they at some point that they were like, this is Plymouth Rock.
Yeah,
It
it's
should
good
be
enough.
like they should have if they're gonna lie about it, make it like huge. Like it should have
Right.
been like the equivalent of Mount Rushmore. Like here we go. This is what they saw. This is what they landed on.
Right. It is. It was just like disappointing because we had to fight through like 3 layers of crowd to see it. And by the time you get to the front, it's like, why are we even here?
It's what all those
Why?
Sooner fans dealt with seeing the Liberty Bell. Like,
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah, and heading to Pat's and Geno's. I saw that as well. It's like,
So,
come on, guys.
They did take over McGillen's though, which was upsetting.
Yeah, but I mean, you sent
The
the
energy
video in the
was
group
low.
chat. It
Low-
was
Low
boring.
energy McGillen's.
That's the worst I've ever seen it, to be honest. So, hey, God bless them. They got the win. Good for them. Happy for them. Hope they enjoyed their trip, but, take over. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, on this date in 1993, this sitcom, which was a spinoff of one of the most iconic sitcoms of all time, debuted on NBC and
Frasier.
became one of the most
Frasier.
popular American television shows. It was Frasier. Wow, you guys haven't missed a beat.
Spin off Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah, casual.
Kelsey
And now
Grammer.
back to birthdays. On this day in 1925.
My one of my high school girlfriends was named after Kelsey Grammer.
Really?
They were watching Cheers and they saw Kelsey Grammer's name on the thing, and then her dad was like, "Oh, that's a good name," and they named it that, and not realizing Kelsey Grammer was a guy.
That's a good name.
See you in hell.
On this day in 1925, this American guitarist and singer was born, a principal figure in the development of blues.
BB King.
B.B. King. Nice. I was going to use Blues Boy as the, because that's, what BB stands for. And finally, on this day in 1927, this American actor best known for his portrayal of the eccentric detective Lieutenant Columbo, was born.
Peter Falk.
Peter Falk, nicely done. And that was on this day.
Not around on this day.
Not around. Not around. You know, it just became a little bit of a crutch, and I love those guys. You know
what
but,
the issue was? There wasn't a direct link from you to them.
Yeah.
We had an interim in between, so they learned from the interim.
Yeah.
Kyle once again pointing to Johnny as the problem.
I didn't say that.
He's gonna love
I never verbalized that.
How rattled would Johnny be to hear that right now?
He'll never listen to this.
I wish he was here. He just left. He has to go take care of some stuff at home. But if he was here, I would have pulled him in and made sure that he heard that.
Well, just play it when he's home again. Just
100%.
Does this sound like Let It Be, or we had fun with Colin?
Colin not knowing any Beatles songs. I don't know if you listened to last week's episode. Was
seriously not one?
Bad with music.
Good Lord.
So he couldn't name a single Beatles song. So I spoke to him in about 20 different Beatles titles. I just worked them into the conversation, and just every single one just.
But we are fortunate that Declan, as he said, unless he pulls the rug out from under us, he's going to stick around for the mailbag. So
I'm here.
What's the mug say? What am I looking at on this mug?
Oh, it says, but first coffee.
Oh,
It was from my mother. It's got photos of our life. Nice. Yes.
Is that from the
not dishwasher safe?
Does she still listen now that you're not on it?
I don't think so. I'm so sorry. I don't think so, though.
That's upsetting.
Yeah. I do.
Might she listen to this episode?
If I tell her, we made the guest appearance, we'll see.
If she's like my mother, she has you on Google alerts. So if we put you in the description of the episode, maybe it'll just pop up and she'll go, oh,
it could be.
You were on the scoop.
I mean, it would be a surprise to me if she knew what Google alerts were, but it would be awesome. It would be awesome.
Declan, isn't that the Ray Dunn? Isn't there a mug collection called Ray Dunn? Is it RAE Dunn?
Yeah, RAE.
I recognize the
this is news to me.
But it's Dunn is DUN. And so if you took the E from Ray's last name and put it in the first name.
That would be incredible
like an
synergy.
anagram.
You drinking out of that mug, and then our first mailbag question is from Ray Dunn. So I don't know. I think Declan kind of
segue. Boom.
brings a lot of kind of recalibrates things. So I don't know.
Yeah. I feel rejuvenated. I was starting to quit about an hour ago. I was publicly negotiating for more money, and I was going to at one point threaten to quit. Who you might think, oh, is that big of a loss? Who's going to walk through John through basic technology things?
No. Oh no, I get it. I was sitting here. I felt like you when you would talk about how we were late to a recording and you just had to sit there. John told me 1:30 originally, so I was here at 1:25, just getting ready to go, make sure everything worked, levels were good. 1:45 rolled around, and I was like, damn.
I thought I told you got to be on standby. I don't know how long things are going to be. So.
No, I was ready to go. It was just,
I'm sure you were.
Okay, I get it. I
was
like, I get it.
It feels like Thanksgiving, which just, maybe you hit a little traffic. Maybe I said the food with the turkey wasn't ready when you got in the kitchen, but now here we are.
I will say I am the punctual one in this marriage, John, not the most punctual person.
But he shows up, and that's what makes
he shows up because I drag him out of the house. I lay out his little outfit. I say, this is what you're going to wear. Be nice. And then we show up 18 minutes later. I say, make sure people know that we're late because of you. And then I bring out my yams.
Along those lines, though, can you please tell people that Meg oftentimes has laid out your outfits in the past?
Almost every day.
Yeah.
Almost every day that every day that I have to do something. Like today, look, I picked out this shirt. Okay. If we're going somewhere or something that's actually not a formal event, obviously, but a going somewhere event, it's almost 99.9% of the time Meg lays out what I wear.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I'm borderline colorblind. I just don't understand how fashion. I saw a TikTok the other day. I was like, or mothers of TikTok, are you able to leave your kids alone with your husband and they'll be fine? And the top comment was yes, but he's going to dress them like effing dorks. And I was like, that's exactly right. When I had to dress Jordan and Haley, they look awful. So Meg will lay out their outfits and then but they'll be alive.
And they'll look stylish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As he does each week, our friend Mike Greenspan of Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers provides his weekly tip for staying safe in life and on the roads. one of the best injury lawyers, if not the best injury lawyer you could hope to have. Mike wants to make sure that you may not even need his services. So here's Mike's weekly tip for staying safe in life, and then we will jump into the mailbag with our friend Declan Landis, who has promised to stay around.
Temple fans, we're used to managing expectations when it comes to watching the Temple football team play. That managing expectations comes from experience of many years of knowing what will usually happen. Why do we say this now? Because managing expectations is very important for safety, not just for fans, but also for young drivers. See, we as experienced drivers have experience, and we know, based on that experience, how to react to situations, whether at an interstate, at an intersection, or just driving on a local roadway. Young drivers don't have that experience, and they're just not sure if they can actually make that turn or proceed with that maneuver safely. So here's the tip. Always remind that younger driver, when in doubt, they don't have enough time, room, or speed. Let the other vehicle go and take it safe. That way, they can arrive alive. Go Owls.
Declan is still here.
Haven't left.
Stuck around. First question in the mailbag this week comes from our friend Ray Dunn, the heartbeat of 97.5, the fanatic. Ray checked in on Twitter and asked us in this week's mailbag, build your ideal Temple football out-of-conference schedule. It could be opponent-based, road trip-based, or storyline-based. Declan, let's go with you first.
Oh,
Let's say you have the opportunity to just wipe next year's non-conference slate clean. Give us your ideal Temple football non-conference schedule.
yeah. I mean, two are obvious, I think.
I think I have 2 of your 4.
You know, just how he
Okay.
asks you a question and immediately just
I know,
answer it.
He's saying not predictable. I get it. I have 2 for sure that I think are maybe obvious. Number 1, road trip based and personal goal based. South Bend.
Yeah.
Have to. Would be incredible. Obviously, you guys got to experience that. I have not. Okay, so I am going to need a guest credential. I will cover the game. Get back in the mix. No problem. Just let
I
me
think
know.
you put your photo on the Notre Dame one. It's probably hanging up somewhere. You have to submit a photo.
Really? That's real deal.
Like submit a little photo
that's
that
sick.
they then would put on the thing.
Is it like a heavier one too?
No, it's a
like
good
one of the
credential.
weighty.
Yeah, it's not a paper one. It's a good laminated.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's the dream. I mean, that would be so cool. Storyline based for the second one. I know this was kind of it's been a mention for the last couple of years. Why don't they do this? Why don't they do this? It was I guess historic rivalry. Now, with, the new skipper, new head coach, got to bring in Delaware.
Yep.
Either going to or bringing them in. I think it's a very obvious storyline there. Would be very cool, especially if the program keeps taking some steps as it looked like they did in week 1 and 2. We'll see what happens this weekend. GT is a cool place. I've been to that stadium. That's a lot of fun. So that's a cool matchup. And probably not my pick. Man, that's tough. Non-conference. Let's get a West Coast trip. Let's see USC. And again, that's the Notre Dame fan in me as well. But
For the Rose Bowl.
let's go to the Rose Bowl.
Can you
That
imagine
would
Temple
probably not
USC at the
happen.
LA Coliseum?
How sick would that be? You know what I'm saying?
Quite sick.
And then quite
Like,
sick.
the trick
indeed.
is to schedule. USC is a good one. Games against opponents that have like a red in their uniform, so that way when 6 Temple fans go, you can be like, no, they were at 1,400. You just didn't see them; they just blended in.
Just couldn't tell. It's a different shade, but it's like really close.
In between
what I
Will
mean?
Ferrell and Kendall Toole, that was a Temple fan.
Exactly. We travel well. And I know this is 3 road games, but like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? What are you gonna fire me? I don't.
You're out of conference schedule.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm gonna say one of the more, maybe not underrated is the right word, but it does kind of feel underrated because I haven't really been on the national radar in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a Virginia Tech night game.
They just fired their
I
coach.
just fired their coach. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
People
But like,
in
you get
Blacksburg
Enter
not happy
Sandman
right now.
rocking. Yeah, exactly. But like, in their prime, you get like the Enter Sandman stuff going, the energy. Like
Or-
when it used to, they would have night games on ESPN.
Yeah.
That's a good level. I think that's
You
and it's a
arrive,
good
they
enough
say, hey,
competition.
Metallica actually pulled back the right center Sandman, but
Oh.
karaoke is allowed as in fair use. We need you to sing Enter Sandman.
Give me your best James
May-
Hetfield right now.
We're getting Johnny to learn it on his acoustic guitar. I'm getting on the mic, and we're getting it rocking. I mean,
Johnny
we are
was,
getting everybody on their feet. We're rolling.
Johnny was not bad when I was over there. All of a sudden, he's just sitting there like, what do you know? He just starts playing Fast Car. I'm like, all right, there you go.
Yeah, he's got that. He's got Something in the Orange, which is a good song. I think he's trying to learn something else, but I think he wants to nail those 2 songs before we move on. But I think
He
Enter
should, like-
Sandman might be number 3.
He should it's rotated fully now. If you learn Wonderwall, people will be like, "Oh, that's good." It's not like the early 2000s, 90s where it was a cliche.
It was everybody.
You bring it back.
He's just sitting outside the shop, right? The Drexel shop, right? Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
You're like, wow. So,
That text was crazy, by
How
the way.
about that, though? I didn't even really try to set this up. Sunday before the Eagles game, I'm at that shop right by Declan Johnny's place. Live entertainment. Guy doing open mic. I forget what he was playing in his second to last song, and then he played the Eagles fight song, and then he was done. Texted Declan and Johnny and said, yeah, you guys have live entertainment at your shop right here. So
When you texted that, I was in the online pickup area out front getting my online order.
you didn't tell me that. Why didn't you?
Well, I thought it was obvious me saying that I was there.
and
I was like,
if you're
oh,
there-
where?
You said it,
Also,
you hear it.
If you go to a
True.
store and you're trying to just do like the online pickup, you're not trying to like interact, right?
True.
Like,
I
just
would have
want them to
gotten out
come
of the
in,
car.
Oh, the trunk fine, trunk's fine. They put it in the trunk and I peel away. I don't want to be like, all right, John.
They
yeah,
don't even do that. They just bring the cart.
For context,
They're like, you do it yourself.
Oh no, Target pickup. Oh, where do you want? Front seat, back seat? You want the trunk? You want the front door?
That is
They do
ideal.
the first, second, third floor.
for
They can do it
context,
all.
Declan said you're here. So their place is literally on the other side of
All
the
right,
street,
let's
right?
not dox us just yet.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh, get over yourself. Come on. All right, so your 4 road games are Notre Dame, Delaware.
Well, they're bringing
USC,
Delaware.
Virginia Tech.
They're bringing Delaware too.
Yeah.
Like,
If you can't, if
Yeah.
you haven't been able to get to South Bend, did I at all make it up to you by taking you past the St. Jude shop on Brookline Boulevard here in Havertown before we got ice cream and
it
coffee?
was close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough, you know?
Who's your ideal non-conference?
I'm gonna try to do this sort of realistic. I think you host Villanova, so you get the FCS opponent. That's close. Host Penn State,
Ooh.
you get your sellout. At UConn, so you get a regional opponent, and then just to have like a random shit hit the wall. This almost happened in 2010. 2010? No, it's almost happened in 2012. 2011 at University of Hawaii.
Whoa. That'd be cool.
If for those that don't remember, Temple only had 11 games that year. They played Syracuse on Black Friday. If they had won that game, they would have been 5-6. Temple was talking about potentially, since Hawaii has a rule where if any team that travels to Hawaii is allowed a 13th game, and Hawaii is allowed 13 games a year, there was some backroom talks about whether or not Temple would then go play Hawaii, who was bad that year, whereas Hawaii's 13th game to get to bowl eligibility at 6-6.
Wow.
Then they lost to Syracuse on Black Friday, and none of it mattered anyway.
This came up a few weeks ago. Speaking of Oasis, when I was at the Oasis concert with our buddy Nick Menta, one of his friends brought this up. We were in the parking lot before we went in, and Nick likes to tease me because that year when Temple was potentially looking at playing Hawaii, the ESPN station was just like, I think they were honestly just power texting people like, who could we call from like people that Hawaii might play. I went on a radio show out there, talked to a guy out there to give him like a scouting report on Temple. And Nick likes to tease me because he's like, all right, John, thanks for being on with us. I said, great. And I for whatever reason, at the end, I said, enjoy the weather out there. And Nick just jumped.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I didn't know that Nick was listening. Literally, as soon as I get off the call, he texts me in all caps, enjoy the weather out there.
Oh, gosh. Also, there's a 6-hour difference. So this was probably like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Honolulu time. And it's like,
Yeah.
and we have from the East Coast, John DeCarlo.
I
Modern
can just
technology,
hear
though.
that too.
Imagine explaining that to somebody during like the Great Depression or
yeah.
the Civil War. By the way, I'm going to call Hawaii, zero delay.
Talk about college
and I'm
football.
going to talk to them about the weather and Temple football.
When you call for delivery and they're hanging up and you say, all right, I love you. Oops, never mind.
What?
I did that. Did you ever tell?
My wife
Did you ever
my wife
accidentally
did
call a
that
teacher?
once.
You ever accidentally call a teacher mom?
Yeah.
I did
No.
that. I did that in 5th grade. I called Miss Hummel, wherever you are, Miss Hummel, Barbara Hummel. I called her mom as like a retort, like yes, mom. Same thing. It's just like you're not thinking these things, just subconscious, just you're being polite.
I've never done that. Chelsea was putting a pickup call a few years ago and said, "All right, love you, bye." And it's like you just said,
We should normalize telling people that you love them.
"Yeah,
Yes, that's what we need.
ahead of the curve."
You know.
Be also real quick though, the University of Hawaii's football stadium sucks. I think they're trying to renovate it. They do like flea markets there on the weekends. Like you like drive by it and like before like the day before a game, there's just people doing flea market stuff out there. It's an interesting setup.
That's kind of a cool vibe, though. I kind of like that. You know, when you think about
Imagine that if you was like, oh, you guys bringing food to the tailgate? I'll just pick something up at the flea market.
it.
And
Exactly.
it's just like you end up buying like a huge loaf of like cinnamon swirl raisin bread, and you're like, this is what I'm eating today.
Famous for their
Homemade.
banana bread out there. My four were Delaware, Nova, Pitt, and either Rutgers or Maryland. So sort of similar, a little different. Off the Hook 3 on Twitter. Obviously, the Owls were overmatched last week and likely will be again this weekend. Do these games change your outlook on the Owls season? Does a bowl game still seem possible?
The result in like a vacuum of like they lost to Oklahoma, and if they lose to Georgia Tech does not change my opinion. If they go out to Georgia Tech and they lose 45-0 and this offense just isn't doing anything, then yeah, then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, there's going to be some games in the American where you're going to need to score 40 points, 35 points, and I don't have confidence in your ability to do that. But if they go out there and they look like they belong on the same field as Georgia Tech, then that offense will put up big numbers against the Charlottes of the world and the Tulsas of the world. So not yet. I'm not yet at the point where it's changed my outlook.
I
also thought they'd go 4-8 or 5-7. So like I'm very firmly still in that outlook.
Yeah, and I will say the one difference I've felt with this team, and granted, you guys are on the inside, I'm on the outside, just kind of watching, but it feels like the one difference in this team from previous years is they're not taking their foot off the gas. Like it felt like in previous years, if they ever got a lead, which was rare, admittedly, they were more inclined to kind of not necessarily finish the job and kind of play to the level of their opponent. It felt like in those first two games, they were able to keep going and keep the momentum rolling. And that's going to be big if you can see that in Georgia Tech. If they get some sort of late energy against Georgia Tech, if they can keep that up, even if they're not winning, I think that is arguably more important than the final score for when you get into those conference games later in the season.
I think that's a good point that might be overshadowed sometimes. Like one of the main benefits to Casey Keeler is like he knows how to manage like a game. So like if you're up like 17-3, like he knows like is a situation where I pull back or do I have to keep get like another 10 points? Like it's kind of like how you've seen like Sirianni get better with the Eagles, where like he knows that like you can kind of take the foot off the gas here as long as you win enough for the Chiefs. You want to like time of possession is more important than points here. Like I feel like Keeler is better at that than Stan Drayton was, which like obviously because he's been doing this for 35 years versus Stan Drayton learning on the job. So like to that point, like if they're in an American game and they're up 27-3, like I feel like Keeler has a good idea of knowing like, is that going to be enough? Can I rest or can I continue to kind of apply pressure here? But you just didn't get a chance to see it in Oklahoma because they fell down so much so early.
I agree with you guys. Now, if they take an even bigger step back at Georgia Tech this weekend and they look even more overmatched, then yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see how they respond after the bye week against UTSA. Otherwise, I still think that to get to the second question from Off the Hook 3 here, does a bowl game still seem possible? Yeah, I think there's still a path to 6 wins. You come out of the non-conference schedule at 2-2, like we've talked about ever since we started talking about this season. And then, you know, UTSA, Charlotte, and Tulsa, 3 games in this season, they're all 1-2 teams. Those are games that you could or should win. And then I think that stretch, that 2-week stretch, November 1st at home against ECU and then at Army November 8th, that really might kind of determine bowl eligibility for them. Now, Army got upset by Tarleton State. They came back and they beat Kansas State on the road before bye week. And so Cale Helms might be their new answer at quarterback. So if they catch, I don't want to say catch lightning in a bottle with him, but if he's the guy that really takes over that position, he looked pretty good at K-State on the road, so he could be a jolt for them. Navy looks like the better of the 2 service academies, but you get them at home. Does that help Temple? I don't know, but there's a clear path to 5 wins. The question is, can they get that 6? So
I know the final score ended up being they won by 19, but Tulsa went punch for punch with Navy for a long
they
stretch.
did, yep. Yeah.
Like they took that game into like the third quarter of like, is Navy maybe a little gettable? Like I don't know. Calling it the Colin Bowl.
The Colin Bowl.
Double Navy. The Colin. Well, calling for both.
The conflict
I
of
wasn't
interest
even
bowl.
making the Colin Thompson comparison.
Yes.
I was making a Annapolis connection.
Oh, I didn't even
Vol-
think of it like
Alan
that.
Thompson, volunteer assistant coach down at Navy. So yeah, I think a bowl game is still possible. So if you go back and listen to that clip from Casey Keeler when Austin asked him about how do you mentally prepare this team, again, Casey kind of, I don't want to say tipped his hand. Yes, they want to win that game, but he said the ultimate goal is winning a conference championship. He wants to see how this team responds, how they come out of it. Knock on wood for them, they have remained relatively healthy so far. I'm not trying to downplay Javier Morton's injury. We said earlier in the pod, he's got a sprained ankle right now, lower ankle sprain, not upper nor higher ankle sprain. Higher ankle sprain, excuse me.
Splain. You got some splain.
Yes. But all things considered, Jacoby Hills has been a little more than competent left tackle. Kevin Terry was not lost for the season. You could get him back. They have remained relatively healthy. So if they can, even if they don't beat Georgia Tech, they put a touchdown or two on the board, they stay healthy, you can feel pretty good about yourself at 2-2 coming out. And then again, you got to take it to UTSA. So yes, I think a bowl game is still possible. So Declan, this has been a hell of a lot of fun. Just what a bright
Pleasure. In your life every week. You just got to carve out time.
You just let me know. I mean, look, obviously, it's tough to be in the office and do things like this, but we can, I think we can make something happen.
We can work it out.
We can work it out.
Like Colin, literally, I didn't pick up on any of these.
No,
it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, he was.
I think Ryan even at one point just asked him about Yellow Submarine. And he's like, "What are you talking about submarines for?" Like,
well, I would refuse to let it be. I would make this happen again.
Yeah,
for sure.
I told him that if journalism didn't work out, baby, you can drive my car. And he's like, "What?"
I should point out to everybody, in all seriousness, like Declan is an academic advisor. Klein is doing a fantastic job. Like I said, I get to work with him with my full-time job, and he has been awesome. We're really excited about the sports media major that we have at Temple, and Declan's basically like the lead academic advisor there, and students have raved about him already. So not surprised.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for making up the students too. I do appreciate that.
Real quick, just to put a bow on kind of everything.
Oh, those are real students.
Moving past whatever moment that was. Obviously, Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry. UCLA fired Deshaun Foster. Those guys can now enter the portal. They can enter the portal. So you're seeing this now with Dante Lovett Jr., who Temple recruited out of DeMatha Catholic. Just enter the portal. Just say, hey, I'm redshirting this year, and now I'm in the portal. So you're going to start seeing movement even mid-season now with some of these guys.
I thought you were literally going to make a joke and say, now Deshaun Foster just entered the portal and still has eligibility left as a running back.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I wasn't the only one, because there was like a brief second where I was like, coaches too? And then I knew I was out of the game too long.
Kind of. Like, he can go work somewhere tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if there's
His
a
contract's
Casey
done.
Keeler will have some story about Deshaun Foster. Like,
He's a grown-ass man.
no, but Deshaun Foster's dad actually played for me at Rowan. And
The thing about Glassboro is great people at 322 corridor.
he got into the Glassboro Hall of Fame prior to even starting his career at Delaware. So he was just Rowan's coach, and they were like, Glassboro County Hall of Fame. You're the best to ever be in this county.
He was.
Can you imagine if you were in like the Chester County Hall of Fame? They're like, we've just determined you as a citizen one of the best. Chester County Hall of Fame. Cool. Does that come with like a per diem or anything? Absolutely not.
No.
Like, here's your gift
I got a
card.
framed photo of you.
Here's your $500 gift card to the Exton Mall, which has no stores left in it.
Nothing. I think they're turning it into like apartments or something, aren't they?
They got to
I think
do
it got
something
sold.
with it. That mall.
There's a YouTube video I watched it a couple months ago of somebody that just goes through like abandoned malls. Like, he goes to the malls that are still open, that are just like empty. And he went to the Chester County Mall, and I was like, oh, that's where that's where the Annie Ann's used to be. That's where the Cinnabon used to be.
Chester. Oh, to
I
the
used to
Exton
get
Mall.
free Chinese
Yeah, yeah.
samples from there.
I was working at the Daily Journal at that time. And he was a big deal. I mean, like, he did a great. I mean, people know this just looking at his bio. He did a great job at Rowan, considering like he was basically the one-stop shop there. He had to handle all the recruiting visits and stuff like that. He did a great job at Rowan back then. So he's deserving of that spot in the Glassboro Hall of Fame.
I just think it's wild to like have a county can have a Hall of Fame.
That is pretty sweet. That is pretty cool.
I'm going to identify the easiest Hall of Fame to get into countywide in the nation. I'm going to establish a presence in this county. And they're putting my name up in the rafters.
Which one are you going for? You going for Chester?
They'll retire
County?
my name. They'll retire my name. Anytime somebody tries moving into that county, they'll say sorry.
So would you
Algas
go
is
for?
taken.
What are your chances? You got Chester County, you've got Philadelphia County, you've got Montgomery County. I don't
I got
profess to
Montgomery
know
County.
what county
I've
in
got-
Indiana you lived in. What would you go with?
I think it was Delaware County in Indiana. I think Yorktown was Delaware County.
Delco, the
There you go.
Delco of Indiana.
Is
It
this
was
a
Delaware
physical location too in the Glassboro one? Because when I used to visit my grandmother,
that's what I'm wondering. Do they pay like property taxes and upkeep on
Right.
physical like Hall of
when I
Fame?
went to visit my grandmother as a kid, we would go to the Arnett Mall in Chemung County, and the Chemung County Hall of Fame was like right next to a pet store in the mall, and it was like a room and just like photos of high school athletes and stuff. I think maybe we need to set a precedent with the Owl Scoop Hall of Fame. I think that is our best bet.
Just imagine like being a taxpayer in that area, knowing that like $1 of your property taxes every year goes to maintaining a physical storefront
Just
for
to
your
sweep the
county's Hall of
store.
Fame.
That's all it is.
There's probably
keep the lights on.
There's probably 3 full-time employees because I can't just have one. You got to have someone to back them up, like
A
people on
historian.
vacation. Like,
Remember we talked about would we establish a brick and mortar Owl Scoop office?
I used to drive by one building on the way back to Glenside that had a big sign. It was like $500 office space. And I was like, John, what if we've got physical Owl Scoop office?
and then we just never went there. You'd be like, I don't feel like getting out of bed today. I'm
The weekly podcast just ends up being me like complaining about the office. I'm like, the last time, you guys, if you're gonna take creamer, replace the creamer. I bring the hazelnut stuff from my house. I wrote Kyle on it, and it keeps getting used.
Johnny, I told you
You're
to
the
take
only-
the trash out
You
last
complain
night.
about
and
everything.
You
You
didn't
know-
take the trash out.
we wanted exposed brick here. I don't like the masonry. I think this place sucks.
Have we checked the foundation recently?
Because
Who's
very
the-
like personal attacks. That's why you haven't found a wife yet. You're like, Jesus. Because I didn't replace the creamer. I'm just saying. How you do
It's the
anything is
little
how you do
things.
everything.
It's the little details, okay? And
would
it leads to
destroy-
the
you
larger
would just-
picture.
You would destroy Johnny even more than you did in the past.
I still see like I've been watching a lot more Phillies than I used to because it's my wife's super plugged in and I'm there. And every time I see Johnny, I smile a little bit.
I smile.
I smile a little
I-
bit just because, like, for those that have seen Johnny is very much like a grown man. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just how he comes running as a bat boy, and it makes me smile just a little bit every time.
Yeah, he's a great roommate too. He would be a good
Good guy.
addition to the office. But I play Where's Johnny every time there's a right.
Good guy, better bat boy.
Yeah, hey, one of the best. One of the best.
Overall, season 11, episode 8 of The Scoop is about 65% Kyle, John, and Declan chemistry and 35% Temple Sports Talk.
The scoop
How it
is
should
better
be.
when Declan's on it. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that.
I'm second
Guys,
that.
it's a blessing. At any time you want to send the link, you let me know.
Send the
What if we
link.
did,
I like that.
What if we just did that like to the generations of interns? We just always send out the Zoom link to everybody, and it's like who's gonna show up this time? It's like the Royal Rumble.
I like that.
Scoop.
And you guys
Also,
would
you
just
just like a siren goes off.
Oh God, that's Sam Code's music.
The I Believe in the Whizlack comes on. It's Johnny.
this will be the last thing we say before we sign off here. So Declan, we were fortunate to have Declan on the pod. If we do that thing where we send the link every week, who's the most likely after Declan to respond?
Oh, good question. We're going to the big group chat.
Yeah.
Man, probably
Yeah, I don't know,
Vaughn.
'cause
I
it's
would
like
think.
it's not necessarily who has the
probably
most like
Javon.
time or availability. It's also just like who would want to and like who wants to.
True.
Sometimes the past is best left in the past. I think Sam Newman's likely.
Oh, Sam would.
That was going to be my next.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next one.
Saw Sam at the Oasis show too. It was good to see Sam and his girlfriend Wilson. Met Sam's parents, or got to see Sam's parents again. Sam would definitely do it.
Yeah, and I'd welcome him back.
I genuinely
Sam
think.
still listens occasionally.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
talked about.
genuinely think anybody would. Like, there are a lot of factors. Number one, would Caden check his phone?
Caden would be the
Non-zero
least likely.
chance.
Caden would absolutely be the least.
No,
likely.
Dante. I think Dante would.
No,
Dante.
Dante was on like 10 episodes ago.
Yeah.
15
True.
episodes ago. Yeah.
Caden
That
would
was more so about
definitely
him checking the group chat if you
Oh,
put the
true.
link in there.
It's who's two online, and I love Sam Newman. Sam Newman's just like me; he's very online. He would see the text right away, and we have a chance.
Yeah.
Sam Cohn, too much of a. He's too busy covering the Ravens.
Sam Cohen's
videos.
bouncing back and forth between some like island off the south of Greece, and then also coming back to cover the Ravens.
They were very scenic photos, though.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
They were great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I tossed it like
Javon would do it. He would just tell us a few Fran Brown stories. Caden, least likely.
no, not a chance. And that's not even like he wouldn't want to. It's just he wouldn't see it until weeks after because
Bro.
he's too busy researching like the fourth string running back and his, his favorite teacher in high school because he's amazing at what he does.
Darius Smith's hometown right now. Don't talk to
He's
me.
unbelievable. Every time I read a Caden Steele article, I'm like, oh my God, because I know what the process that went into it was. And just like he is a sicko with the reporting. Like he can just go into just the deepest rabbit hole. It's unbelievable. He's so cool. But he would never see his text in a group chat.
Caden was so worried about, from the time he was a freshman, so worried about not getting a job, wanted to cover the Eagles. What's he doing? Covering the Eagles for today.com.
Yeah.
Got to cover the Super Bowl last year. Doing well.
Yeah, he went to Arrowhead on Thursday too.
Yeah.
Or whenever that was. Sunday. Sorry.
Sunday.
He was there Thursday though.
He was there Thursday. Got there super early.
He was out front.
Well,
bro, I'm ready to go.
Bro, such a long car trip. Declan, this was just an absolute pleasure. Love you.
Thank you guys for letting me crash.
Like when you take your hat off, how much of like an impression from that hat is going to be?
Oh, I can feel it. It's bad.
It's a tight hat.
It's bad.
We'll get some new merch. We'll get some new gear. Yes, it is. It's old. But Declan is repping. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for allowing us to be a little nostalgic today. Thanks for listening. As always, we will talk to you next week on The Scoop.